All
thing,
right.
the damn thing just wouldn't, you know, uh, basically it wouldn't accept my mic. It wouldn't accept the camera. I had to, anyway, had to play around with all those kind of settings. So sorry about being late, guys. And Dave was kind of asking.
I was on time, man. I was on time. I'm a punctual guy these days.
No, never in a million years. Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. Okay, so Ontario's got some new driving laws. They came into effect. Well, they're already in effect as of right now, and some of these really, some of these are just tidying up things like ignition interlock devices for impaired driving convictions, right? So if you've got an impaired driving conviction, you've got to have one of these. They're all mandatory now.
I thought they already were. To tell you the truth, I was in a carpool with a guy, and he had to have one of these in his car. What it is that it's every at random there will be a beep, and the guy's got to grab his breathalyzer that's installed in the car, and he's got to blow, right? And he doesn't know when and if that is going to happen at any time. And during an hour and a half drive, he had to do it about 3 times. So it was roughly about once every half an hour in order to keep that going. That's the only way he could get his license. So I thought these rules were already in place when I read them. And I thought to myself, that's already happening. So why is it?
Maybe it wasn't mandatory. Maybe he was a severe offender.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Okay. And there's also a 6-month post-interlock zero tolerance condition. So once the interlock device has been removed from the car, you've now got a zero tolerance condition in order to, in order to continue driving.
Yeah, of course there's a lot more stricter rules, mandatory rules and regulations with drinking and driving and drug or any kind of substance abuse or substance in your body.
Yeah.
They have a different system now because they can't really check for drugs. So they are finding different ways of monitoring your driving that would indicate to them that you might be under the influence. So those are very
drugs
interesting.
Are differently detected than drink. Yeah.
Yes. So they have devices installed in your car, I guess, that can tell them, can indicate to them that you are driving under the influence of something. Because with the alcohol and having the breathalyzer installed in the car, it's not going to be able to tell them if you have been doing drugs of any kind.
Yeah.
So that's so I don't know how that works. They're probably pick up on certain behaviors or whatever in a driver, which might indicate that this is the way he drives soberly and this is the way he's driving now, which doesn't make sense. So he may be under the influence, which would cut down the car's ability to drive. Yeah. Now, the other thing, the big thing I was worried about is they don't necessarily give people a license from a different country. That's a good thing. They are requiring people to
go license testing restrictions for newcomers. Yeah.
Yeah, that is long overdue.
Well,
and
yeah, I would tend to agree because there are some countries, like if you come from the UK to here, your G license is the same thing. But some other countries, like when I was in Saudi Arabia, there used to be this thing of, put it in first, you're driving forward, put it in reverse, you drive you back to the original position, you pass your test, here you go, right? I'm not saying that they're there's some countries that have got a reputation for poor quality driving licenses, right?
So when I got my Libyan driver's license, it was much stricter. but I didn't have to do the practical test because I had a Canadian Ontario driver's license. So they recognize some of that, but they're not going to give me, they were not going to let foreigners drive as much on the road. So you had to get a license. So I had to go through a panel of people.
Yeah.
And a panel of people had to check my eyesight. And then I went to another panel of people that checked my coordination. And, and there was a bunch of tests I had to do. I didn't have to do a practical driving test, but they were going to make sure that, because I already had a Western driver's license, so they were pretty satisfied that I could actually run a vehicle. It was just to make sure that I was capable of doing that. It was their biggest concern. And I got a Libyan driver's license. I still have it around here somewhere.
You do? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't take your Canadian one away.
No, they gave me a driver's license for 10 years. So if I ever go to Libya, I'm going to have to get it renewed.
What's your chances of going to Libya again? Pretty well zero, yeah?
Well, that government no longer exists. So you have two governments in Libya right now. It's a divided country. And
well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So annual fee increases cancelled for road tests and driver's licenses. So they're not putting the costs up. Increased oversight of commercial vehicle operators. Some would argue this has been a long time in coming.
Oh, all these things are a long time in coming. I read them, and I was surprised that some of them weren't even enacted, hadn't been enacted yet. So I sort of tip my hat to the Ontario government for finally getting some of this done. You know, which is important for our safety. And even then, even if we have a treaty licenses which we recognize with other countries, let's say like South Korea or something like that, that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to drive. It looks to us as if they do, because they do the same, supposedly do the same standard. But South Korean women are terrible drivers, evidently, and that's because they're not taught as well, or I don't know where that is. I'm not trying to do a trope here or anything like that, but that's what I've heard from numbers of people. Yeah. You know, men are fine, but the women, for some reason, aren't taught well when they're in South Korea, or else it's just expected to go down to the store and back again.
Okay, so one of these is increased oversight of commercial vehicle operators. So Ontario is strengthening the oversight of commercial vehicle operators under the Highway Traffic Act to combat risky driving behaviors and address safety issues. And I guess what a lot of this is about is there's been some issues about companies demanding their drivers get so many runs in on a day.
Yeah. Okay. So this has been a thing going on and on. Yeah. You have to carry a log, and it depends on what kind of driver's license you have. But if you're driving a rig, a big rig, now they used to have two sets of books, one for the government and one for the company, that kind of thing. Yeah. And the guys used to take beans all the time, bennies to keep them going, and that's just, I don't know. They're just trying to restrict that stuff to the limit now. They're just trying to keep people, any kind of commercial driver, within certain limitations so they don't overtax themselves. That's for one thing. Other thing is tow truck drivers. We see that the tow truck drivers are in a complete, they've been fighting each other in Toronto, destroying each other's tow trucks and trying to cut into each other's businesses. And so there's a bunch of different things there that are meant to protect the public.
Yeah.
I think
that's what I'd say.
Overall, it was just very surprising to me that a lot of these were not already enacted when I read them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. What was the other one? next one on this list was administrative penalties for commercial operators and driving schools. So further about the insight, I'm trying to figure that one out, reading that through that one. It's about enforcing safety standards.
Well, yeah, if they're, that's another one that was a little bit unclear to me too. I mean,
yeah,
I can only kind of imagine that whoever's teaching, they're stricter, stricter sort of oversight on those teaching.
Yeah,
people how to drive.
Well, they're also looking at tougher new rules for tow operators and vehicle storage.
Well, that's what I said before, because companies have been fighting over that.
Yeah. Well, that's the point, is what they don't want is kind of just fighting, senseless fighting, which seems to have been
it's not senseless. They're fighting for turf. Fighting for turf, and it's a good way to make money, and tows and scamming people, tows, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say,
yeah. Okay, the other one that's interesting is the permanent increase of the highway limit to 110 speed limit on the highways.
Yeah, that's only on major roads, though. I mean, people are going that way. Like I hardly do under 110 down the QEW. I don't know about you. I get run over if I got any less. And
yeah, that's cool.
You're a conservative driver. In my view, you're a conservative driver. If you get into the middle lane and do 110, you're probably among the least fast drivers. You're like 60% of the drivers on the road are going faster than you if you're going 110 in the middle lane on a QEW. So this boosting it up to 110 in certain areas, that's going to mean 130 to some people. And I'm not so sure that that's a good idea. I'm not so sure, because speed kills. For years and years and years, as cars became better and better and better, the safety things, that 60 mile an hour limit, which was now 100 kilometer an hour limit, death tolls and accidents went down, down, down as cars got better and roads got better. So why not keep it that way? No, they're going to boost it. And you know that 100 kilometers an hour means 120 to most people on the highway. So if you go to 110, that means 130. What are you doing? You're inviting more accidents. Isn't 100 kilometers an hour fast enough for anyone? So I disagree on that. Only because cars definitely can take it now. They're better, safer, quicker. The tires are better. Everything is better. So if you just leave it at 100 kilometers an hour, you may continue to reduce traffic fatalities.
Yeah. There's one other interesting one here, which is obviously the Class G license is the basic of all licenses. But for example, one of the things you can't do is you've got to have a Class G for at least 12 months before you can take a full Class A tractor trailer road test.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. You have to have experience on Ontario roads and that. So if you come from Jamaica or something, and you come from Jamaica or Guyana or something like that, you come to Canada and you've got a driver's license that suits the bill here, but you've never driven on roads similar to those in Ontario. So I think it's a very good idea. Anyway, these things are all done through studies.
What you don't want is a brand new driver at 18 driving a Class A truck as well, right?
Definitely.
And a grant that there are some drivers, let's be open and honest about this. There are some drivers that have been around, have been around trucks all their life, have driven trucks around the yard since they were 10. We all know that there are we all know some people like that. I know some people like that. They worked in their dad's truck yard. So they know how to drive the truck. They know how to put it away, and everything like that, because they do all the in-yard work, right? So
yeah, so all they have to do is get a license. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all you have to do is go get a license. So if you don't got a license, go get a license. Plain and simple.
But it would just basically mean
don't care if you know how to drive a truck. Definitely, there are. Of course, I've known welders that can out-weld any ticketed welder. Anything like that. So basically, what you want to do, go get your ticket, go get your license. Plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
You got these regulations are there for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on. The Gordie Howe Bridge is going to be opening in July, but basically, Ontario is Canada's giving up the revenue.
Well, for 15 years, it's pretty hard to figure out here. Now, I knew this was going to happen because a week or so ago, the fees that were being charged on the Ambassador Bridge came down drastically. The Maroon family that had owned the Ambassador Bridge was an American family, and they had a monopoly on trucks and stuff that crossed the bridge, and their tolls were exorbitant. So they were making money hand over fist. Of course, they didn't want the Gordie Howe Bridge to open up because they had a monopoly. They have a 100-year-old bridge with a monopoly. Well, let's put it this way. That's going to stifle traffic, and it did. So now what they did was they designed the Gordie Howe Bridge to go from a major highway network in Ontario to the major highway networks and interstate networks in Michigan.
Yeah.
And of course, Donald Trump was all for this back in his first term. But once Howard Lutnick told him that the Maroon family had given him $1 million for his campaign, all of a sudden he wanted to do something, of course, to thump his chest. So for 15 years, I cannot really understand what the deal is. So the Americans are going to get 50% of this, but it's not like it's supposed to go into some kind of a fund, and that's for 15 years. And so it's really not clearly spelled out what's going to happen with that money, only that they're going to get 50% of it, and it's going to go into some sort of development fund. I have a feeling that a lot of it might get peeled off and go into the coffers of DJT's friends on the other side there, including the Maroon family. But it's not very clear where this money's going. And it says 15 years. And of course, the United States has said, okay, we're going to have conditions upon toll increases, etc. Well, that's always been the case anyway on every on every cross-border thing. The Gordie Howe Bridge was opening up with less tolls to encourage traffic rather than restrict it. So that's just huff and bluster and pounding your chest. See, now we can control the money. But we're kind of stuck in a situation here now because it would probably be the instinct of us to say, hey, we'll just leave it closed until we get a better president and somebody not so greasy like Howard Lutnick. But on the other hand, it will improve economic cross-border economy. It will favor both sides.
We can't leave it shut. We can't leave it closed. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So we have to swallow the poison pill and be bullied into it. Like we had an agreement; it was all signed, and this is indicative. The worldwide, though, here's this little situation we have here with the Gordie Howe Bridge, but that's indicative of everything that's happening now, no deal written by the United States is sanctified anywhere. They had the deal with Iran, the JCPOA, whatever it is. They absolved that. So all of a sudden you had this deal, you wrote it up, you sent millions of dollars getting the deal, and it's gone. We got the Kuzma deal, and parts of that are gone because, well, you wrote it down, you signed the treaty, but because the previous administration did it, well, we can't honor, we're not going to honor what the previous administration did. NATO, look what's happening in NATO. That's an American initiative, and now it's on because this particular administration doesn't like it. The treaties that the United States have drawn up all over the world, because this administration doesn't like them, they're not sound. You can't trust this administration, and I think pretty much everybody's sees things like the Gordie Howe Bridge, where we had a deal. That included part of Donald Trump's previous term, where he liked the deal very much. Canada was paying for a bridge. What could be better than that? And then he decides, no, I gotta come down on it and get a hunk of the action, make myself look good. Yeah. But what it messages to the entire world, you cannot trust any deal that you make with the United States, because the next administration might just axe it. So we made this deal. It goes right back to 2012, right? Everybody was in agreement. Canada gets the tolls until the bridge is paid for, and they share the tolls.
Yeah, and I don't see anything wrong with that, because in fact, when they built the Peace Bridge, that's exactly what happened. The US paid for the bridge, the US collected the tolls until the bridge was paid for, and then the tolls were shared.
Yeah, but you're talking about reasonable people with reasonable minds. You're not talking about an egocentric fellow that's trying to pay off his political contributors with a greasy little guy like Ludnick.
And it's not like paying for the bridge will take forever. With the amount of traffic projected over the bridge, I think it was 9 years or 10 years of tolls that they were talking about for the bridge.
No, they're talking almost 50 years to pay for it.
Were they? Okay.
Now, what this sort of fund that 50% of the tolls are going development fund, that's very much a mystery right now. And they said 15 years, but they haven't spelt it out clearly, and that's what's annoying. You cannot find a clear explanation of how those funds are going to be collected, where they're going to, and after 15 years, is that fund going to stop? Yeah. Is Canada going to get back its tolls to pay for the bridge? But in any case, we had to swallow the poison pill to get that bridge open, because that's going to improve the economy of both sides of the river.
Absolutely.
Michigan's happy to have it, and Michigan politicians have pointed to the bridge and told Trump, get this thing open. Yeah. Well, he did, but he took his piece. He took his pound of flesh, which is a complete contrast to what he had said earlier in his first administration. So the guy cannot be trusted with anything, and that's very, very clear. That's why I think the Republican Party is going to get rid of him before the year is out.
Well, we shall see. All right. Anything else on the Gordie Howe Bridge?
Nothing. I'm just happy that it's open and that people can settle down and get to work on a better economy that bridge will help facilitate.
I'm glad it's open, because in fact, actually, it's going to ease the congestion across that border. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially for big transport trucks. And as I said, I knew this was going to happen soon, because I think it was last week or so, the Ambassador Bridges fees were nearly cut in half in anticipation. Yeah. July 27th. Yeah, that's when it's supposed to. He says, Rick says, Carney Caves, Yeah, he may have in that particular case. And here we have Lindsey Graham dying. That was
We'll
try to
come
get
to
through
that.
a few local and Canadian things first. But
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
come to that. We'll come to that.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come to that. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know about the turtle. The turtle is alive but not so well. That of course is Mitch McConnell, but we'll get into that later too.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, actually, the next one's kind of the next one that was on my. Hang on. Yeah. So, where was I? Okay, that's gone.
Well, I can't think of what's going to happen, but might as well get into that then.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, where there we go. All right. There's two things. Okay. So, former British MP Anne Widdecombe was killed by a young man. She was one in Margaret Thatcher's.
All right, let's tell everybody who she is. It's MP Anne Widdecombe from the UK,
From the
has
UK,
been murdered. All right,
the reason I
has
brought
been
this
murdered.
up was because the murder of MPs is murders of political people, certainly in the UK, is very unusual.
Yes, we found. Yeah, it's less of a problem in UK as it is in the US, but even in the US, it's not that great of a problem. So,
No.
Anne Widdecombe, who is 78 years old, who has worked for a variety of different parties, political parties, and has been a public servant right back to, as you said, Margaret Thatcher's
day, yeah.
Has been brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Has been targeted murder. And the police feel that this is a terrorist attack. However, the assassinator, the assassin, the alleged assassin, is a 26-year-old white guy. So we don't know what the motivation is yet. But the police are referring to it as a terrorist action.
Yeah.
They might change their mind on that. It might be just a nutcase murdering somebody like somebody murdered John Lennon kind of thing,
Yeah.
Because it was a whim in their mind. But let's face it, this woman need not have been murdered. She was not a threat to world peace. She was not a threat to anyone in any means possible. Her party wasn't a profound threat to anyone. And somebody decided that she had to die and was murdered. And the fact of the matter is that she was there was no amount of security that protected her, because who would have ever thought anything like this would have happened?
Yeah. And besides which, she's a former MP, and she's essentially retired from politics, although she does support Nigel Farage's Reform UK party.
Is this the political climate we're heading to? We find that in the world today, we see it closer in the States, of course. We find a lot of rage baiting on the left and the right. We see shows like Fox News will rage bait, make everybody infuriated, just out and out lie or whatever, and get people all worried about communists, evil, godless communists coming in and living under your bed. On the other side of it, the right wing are talking about how the Republican Party is becoming more and more fascist, and that there is a jackbooted Nazi under your bed.
Yeah.
So this is getting people all riled up, and it sells big. And if you go on YouTube or any one of the other social media sites, what'll happen if you start looking at certain things about communists under your bed, you're going to get scads. They're going to feed you. They're going to send you down a tunnel of conspiracies, because they think that's what you want, and that's what they're going to sell you. And if you do this, if you talk about fascists in the American government now, they're going to feed you down a tunnel, a vortex of conspiracy theories, one right after the other. So I think a lot of people are getting touched in the head because of social media.
Yeah.
And the ability for us to discern what is good news and what is objective news is being lost because we get so much rubbish tossed at us. And who's controlling the media in the first place? It's big corporations, and they're looking for money. They're not looking for truth. That's basic thing, you know. If the truth happens to make them money, okay, we'll report the truth. But you know, if rage baiting makes us more money, then that's what we'll do. There's a communist around every corner.
For once, I'm going to agree with Nigel Farage in saying that it's a terrible reflection on modern Britain.
It's a terrible reflection on the democratic world right now.
Yeah.
I find that more and more politicians are a threat. It used to be, look, Wayne Gates can walk around anywhere he wants, you know, here in town. Can you imagine somebody taking a shot at him? But that's what it's looking like things are going, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, Jim Giudice can go anywhere in town. People might yell at him, say, "Oh, you're a bastard. You're not doing what you're supposed to do." But most people will just, you know, say hi, Jim, or whatever, you know, and that's it.
I wouldn't, you know, even though I'm a big critic of Diodati, I've spoken to him on a number of occasions and a number of events. He's a nice guy to speak to.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine. He's doing his job the way he sees it. So what? He got elected. And if we don't like what he's doing, but then we organize somebody to take over his spot.
Yeah, we can all disagree about what he does, right? That's up to us as electors to actually, of course, we can disagree, right? It's
obviously more people agree with him than don't because he's the mayor, you know?
Yeah.
So
fair, yeah.
LGBT, same as Charlie Kirk matter. Yeah, this Charlie Kirk thing, that's there's I would say it's a political assassination myself because Charlie Kirk has so much influence over politics and popular culture. So I think that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We don't know. Of course, there's conspiracy theories abound, particularly the one about Netanyahu calling the being behind the assassination because Charlie Kirk was getting sick of the Gaza thing. He's supposed to be a Christian, and if you're a Christian, you have to face the truth. Charlie Kirk was a little bit disappointing when he was against the Epstein class, and then when Trump got in and it was his buddy and his friends that were in the Epstein files, all of a sudden he kind of turned away on that. I'll leave that up to somebody else now. But he was, you know, so he had his own problems. However, that was an assassination. I'm pretty sure it was just a nut that did that.
Yeah. And moving on to Senator Lindsay, died after an aorta rupture, said the medical examiner. So he's from vocal critic of Donald Trump to one of the most loyal allies on Capitol Hill after Trump became president. So he died in office at the age of 71.
Yes, he had just come back from the Ukraine. Now this is a guy who, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful for the guy, but he is a guy that sold his soul to MAGA. Early on, when Donald Trump first entered and was vying for the president, he had warned, Senator Lindsey Graham had warned everybody that this guy is going to change politics. He's going to, he said to the Republican Party, he says, do not follow him. It's not worth it for us to win the presidency with a man like that. It's not going to be worth it because he's going to change everything. He is not a Democrat. He doesn't like democracy and all those things. Everything that every critic ever said of him, Lindsey Graham was in the forefront of that.
Yes.
But we found that now that his second term's come along, he has sold his soul to MAGA, and
even at
he has been the one. He was the one that told Netanyahu how to approach Trump when he wanted to go do the war in Iran.
Yeah. Well, he flipped over in the first term. Because I remember when he flipped over, because we were talking about, during the 2016, 1620 presidency, he was very vocal against Donald Trump. But during the early years, he actually flipped over because he was talking about unity within the Republican Party.
Well, the problem is MAGA's taken over the Republican Party, and you have to show fealty to Donald Trump if you're going to get anything done. So think of yourself, if you go back to Nazi times, let's say, and I'm not saying that the Republicans are Nazis, but if you were a public figure in Nazi Germany and you wanted to get better schools, right? You're not going to get the better schools if you're not part of the Nazi party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's say you're a local politician and you want your schools and roads done better in your community or your constituency. How are you going to get that done without joining the Nazi party?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you kind of had to swat, kind of put your
it's similar.
Put your ethics aside for in one section, just so that you could do the other. That was true of a lot of Nazi judges too. You found you know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, and that was also true in Soviet Russia, wasn't it? You joined the party to be able to pursue a career in something or other.
Well, yeah, a lot of people did it just because it was a soft touch. But if you were a conscientious person and you were in charge of a certain area and you wanted to bring improvements to that area, how are you going to do it without being part of the Communist Party?
You couldn't.
And so I think Lindsey Graham here can be excused in some sections, knowing that he wasn't going to get anywhere. And he's from South Carolina, where it's going to be MAGA territory down there for sure, right? Because the biggest group of MAGA supporters are uneducated white men, or the least educated white men, and that's where you're going to find them in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do they have by-elections in the Senate?
They have. It depends on the state, each different state, because there are 2 senators for every state, and each state is in charge of the electing or doing anything of that kind, whether it's Congress or the Senate. That's a good thing. They're going to have to get a caretaker senator in, at least for South Carolina, to take Lindsey Graham's seat. Now the other one, Kentucky, where you got the turtle, Mitch McConnell, where they're not sure that he is cognitively able to do his job. If they can determine that by August 3rd, they can have an election. That's different from South Carolina. So they're the 2 states. Kentucky does it different from South Carolina.
But does it matter in the grand scheme of things when you get a new Senate partially elected this year anyway?
There's going to be their election coming up, of course, but in this particular case, the governor of South Carolina is entitled to put in a caretaker senator.
Okay.
To hold the office until the election.
Okay.
But in Kentucky, if Mitch McConnell is determined to not being able to conduct his duties properly before August 3rd, they can have an immediate election. But after August 3rd, they got to wait till the midterm election.
Yeah,
that's why they're hiding him in a hospital right now.
Yeah, I was going to say the midterms coming up in November. So, August 3rd seems as if, realistically, that one's not going to happen, is it? That's going to be part of the midterms.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do that. They want to shield that particular thing. So what's happened to Mitch McConnell is different from what happened to Lindsey Graham. Let me just put out here, though, what happened to Lindsey Graham, there's already conspiracy theories all over the place.
Of course.
The conspirators are not sure who murdered Lindsey Graham. The conspirators think that the Russians did it. Some conspirators think the Russians did it because Lindsey Graham famously has supported Ukraine against Russia. Others think Iran did it because Iran has claimed that they killed him. But with Iran, it's a little bit different because they can say, well, God's on our side. You know, we are the Shia Muslims, and we had a fatwa, and God heard our prayers and killed Lindsey Graham. So, but they have claimed that they killed Lindsey Graham. Right now, they're trying to get Trump, well, the Iranians in particular, are trying to get Trump all agitated. They know he's afraid of assassinations for good reason. They've had 3 attempts on his life. So they're trying to keep juicing that part of him, make him work irrationally. And I don't know if that's going to work. That strategy is going to work. But, of course, they've claimed they killed him. Other conspirators say it's the Russians. I say he just died. He died.
I think he just died.
And he died.
I think he just died. He had an unfortunate sequence of events and just died. Right? That's the way I look at it. Most of these thoughts about conspiracy theories are often way off the mark.
Of course.
Right. Okay. So let's quickly look at the City of St. Catherine's registered candidates for the upcoming election. Notable thing at the moment is that Matt Sisko hasn't put his name in to be mayor again as yet. We've got Anthony Adebayo, Jimmy Jackson, and Anne-Marie Zammit, of which Anne-Marie Zammit is probably the most likely of those candidates to take the mayorship. In Meriton, Meriton Ward, Matt Eimer, Jeffrey Crane, and Jacqueline Lindell are standing. John Edgar, who previously stood, is now withdrawn his nomination. So, in Meriton. St. Andrews, you've got Brian Blue, Adrena Clifford, and incumbent Matt Harris. So maybe some change there. St. George's, you've got Alexander Miller, South Sorrento, who was a former regional councillor, Mark Stevens, who's a current councillor, and Kate Warnenberg. So at the moment, looks like potential change there in Ward 3. Ward 4, St. Patrick's, Grant Higginson. This is real popular ward. Grant Higginson, Noah Machek, Alan McKay, Robin McPherson, Caleb Ratzlaff, and Austin Scheinel are all standing. Not familiar with any of those names, but I'm not familiar.
I don't think our particular audience would know. Anyway, I don't know how many people we have.
Rick might. Ward 5, Grantham, Spencer Bellows, Dawn Dodge, Bill Phillips, and Dustin Sunday. Dustin Fakaridi.
Dustin Fakariki? I know. The rumors Dustin Fakarigi. The rumors are that Dustin Fakarigi is going to ask that the giant Ferris wheel come to St. Catherine's.
Okay. Yeah. Ward 6, Port Dalhousie, Marty Mako.
Martin Mango has also asked for the giant Ferris wheel to go to Port Dalhousie.
Oh, right. Okay. Christina O'Reilly and Bruce Williamson.
They want a smaller Ferris wheel.
So, District School Board of Niagara, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candidates. Jennifer Ajandi, Kate Baggett, Matthew Bradman, Lauren Bubnick, Mike Brosseau, and Jonathan Fast. I think Mike Brosseau's already is an existing member. But I'm not that I intimately know the names of the DSBN. Okay, for the Catholic School Board, it's Natalia Benoit, Rihanna Burkholder, and Larry Hubers. And there are some French school boards as well.
Larry Hubers wants a roller coaster instead of a Ferris wheel.
A roller coaster. Okay.
He says Ferris wheels are just too dull. He wants a roller coaster instead.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. So those are your St. Catherine's candidates as of right now.
Well, the big take there is they're trying to steal the Ferris wheel that's normally supposed to come here. They see that there's controversy here, and so they're going to be wide open to have the giant Ferris wheel in St. Catharines, Port Colborne, everywhere else. Anyway, sorry to say he will not be missed. Oh, you're talking about Lindsey Graham.
I think so.
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Oh, Sam Neill is dead? No way. Oh, man. That guy was a great actor. I'm going to miss him. He was a fabulous actor.
So basically, Rick is saying that
Sam Neill will be missed.
Rick is saying that Matt Sisko's up for the regional chair. He may well be. Frank Campion or Matt Sisko is the two that I see potentially taking that, which is why they haven't put their name up for nomination at the moment. Vice Chair Campion, yeah.
Yeah, we don't look, these guys, if they're not putting their name up, I doubt very much they're going to remove themselves from politics, because if you look at any mayor or chair or local politician, mayor, where it's very, very hard for them to remove themselves from being the mayor. There is an appeal for most mayors to be mayor for life. The idea of governing, of being the big fish in a small pond, is somewhat irresistible. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Some people really do have that duty, that feeling of duty, that they are the ones, and they get voted over and over and over again. So they have the will of the people on their side. Yeah. Look at Jim Duodati. We can complain all day long about him, but the will of the people says that he's the best mayor we have. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's democracy, and that's what we have to put. And
again, Jim Diodati knows there are people out there that have different opinions to him.
You think?
Oh, of course he does.
You think? I think that become a head bingo caller, Dave Will. Yes, I'm up for that. I am. I'm campaigning at the moment to be head bingo caller. Wrong. The Ferris wheel is coming. Thorold. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I missed that one. I knew they were sneaky. Thoroldites are sneaky, right? They probably went and gave $1 million to Doug Ford's campaign just so they can get the giant Ferris wheel.
Is this to celebrate the new? Will this one be up there to celebrate the new 1,500-foot locks?
Yeah, I don't know. I think what happened is, like, Doug Ford's got his Howard Lutnick weasel, a version of Howard Lutnick, the weasel type dude. Somebody's gone to give him, but in this case, it wouldn't have given him $1 million. It might give him a coupon for a coffee and a donut. That might do it for Doug Ford. We all want more stuff. Yes, we want more stuff. Talk about more stuff. If you've looked at the plans for the Chippewa Willoughby recreational center, where the old Chippewa Arena is right now, that's quite involved. That looks very, very interesting. It's an investment that's going to cost the Niagara taxpayer somewhat, but in this particular case, it may really be worth it for the future of Niagara in that area. It's going to be a facility that can be used not only for Niagara South, but area in Chippewa and Willoughby area. Of course, that's where people are expanding to, but I think anyone's going to be able to use it. There's going to be a new ice pad there. I played a lot of hockey in Chippewa Arena. I played in Jack Bell Arena. That got knocked down. I played in Stanford Arena. That got knocked down. I got in Memorial, the Memorial Arena. I played hockey there and lacrosse and all those places that I just mentioned. And they all got knocked down.
All gone.
So I'm going to do the world a favor here, Niagara Falls. I'm not going to play hockey in the new rink, any of the new rinks, because I don't want them to get knocked down.
So Dave hasn't played hockey in the Gales Center.
No, and look, it's still standing. I played hockey in Stanford. It's gone. I played hockey in Jack Bell. It's gone. I played hockey in Chippewa. It's about to go. And I played hockey in Memorial and lacrosse in Memorial, and it's gone. So I promise everyone I'm not going to go play anything in Gale Center, so it'll stay standing.
You're not even going to go for a walk in the Gale Center, eh?
I could do that, but I think there's going to be like a big picture with my face on it with a cross through it, red cross through it. Do not play hockey. Not allowed.
Okay.
Or lacrosse. I don't know if they play lacrosse in that arena. It's a good arena.
I've never seen them play lacrosse, but that doesn't mean to say, just because I've never seen them doesn't mean to say they don't.
Well, let me tell you, I went and saw the Junior A game. The first St. Catharines Junior A's are the best in Ontario right now, but they took a loss last night in their first best of three against the Burlington Blaze last night. They started very well. They got ahead of the game, and it looked like they were just going to waltz through. But Burlington came back with a vengeance and won 6-5. This is very unusual. I'll be talking about the quality of the goaltenders in the Junior B and the Junior A's this year. This was they had 95 shots the whole night, and they only scored 11 goals. That's amazing. That's amazing. And the night before that, I told you about their final game of the season where they lost 6-1. The whole game there was 96 shots and only 7 goals. That's insane. Like normally when you go to a lacrosse game, it's going to be 12-9 or 11-10 or something like that. And that is a conservative score. Yeah. It can go up 16, 17, 20, but that's a conservative, typical win in that kind of lacrosse. But I'm telling you, I don't know where the goalies are coming from. They're stopping everything, and these guys are good sharpshooters too.
What do you do in lacrosse? Do you shoot it as soon as you catch sight of the goal?
No, not exactly. You try to shoot in locations. The goalie is big. It's only a 4x4 net, and the goalie is huge, and he's got lots of equipment. So you think nothing could get by him, but that's not the case. Lacrosse is. I played goal. For a time, I played goal in lacrosse. Believe me, it's frustrating because the balls are coming from like everywhere. You got to have masks and all this equipment on, and so you try to cover as much area as you can, cut down as much as you can, but that ball bounces like nobody's business. Yeah, and the guys can shoot underhand, overhand, side hand. The ball can come from anywhere at any time. It's a tough sport. Yeah, it's a good sport. They've softened it since the years that I played, because last night I'm watching illegal cross checks. There was about 5 illegal cross check penalties. Those checks would have been legal when I played.
Yeah,
They've made the game a little bit more.
The reason I ask that is because when you look at soccer's a build it up from the center type game. So you don't actually have, so typically you've got about 10 to 15 shots in a game, of which 4 or 5 may be on target. And obviously the goalkeeper saves.
Well, lacrosse is different. You got dozens of shots. Like I said, you get 90 shots in a 1 hour game, right?
Yeah.
90 to 100 shots.
Yeah.
In a 1 hour game. So much, much different. Plus,
exactly.
The only good thing that I see, I think soccer is a good pastime, and it would be a good thing to do if you're trying to get in shape to play lacrosse. I think that would probably be its best use in my mind.
All right, we've kind of about come to the end of. I don't really want to get into a new story, because if we get into a new story, we won't have time to cover it.
Yeah, it's just basically the war is not ended in Iran yet. They're starting to fire at each other. As you notice, the gas prices have started going back up again. There are rumors, of course, if this morning I caught some of Fox News, and of course they're saying that the Iranians are starting up their nuclear facilities again. Impossible. They were obliterated a year ago, so they said, and I believe that to be true. They were obliterated.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they could turn it back on like that. If all their equipment is broken and there are 400 kilograms of nuclear material, 60% is nuclear dust now, and now they're trying to say, well, it's all started up again. Like you can click your fingers and start up and just build a brand new centrifuge. Like, they're just looking for an excuse to go bomb some more. Anyway, I think there was only a few things. This is exactly what Netanyahu wants, of course, an extended and forever war there.
Yeah.
He's got the United States bottling up Iran, spending all the United States money and some of the United States blood trying to bottle up Iran. And Iran's not going to take it. As evil of as a regime as it is, as misguided a regime that it is, it's not going to put up with that. It's going to say, come and get me. Come and get me. Look, we're running the Straits of Hormuz. You are the greatest military power of all time, and you can't stop us from blocking the Straits of Hormuz, a thing we didn't do before the war. So the folly of the American war against Iran has come completely up. But I would sure like to say, hey, Donald, you won the war. Here's your badge. Here's your trophy of peace. Can you leave now? And everyone will say, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hey, everyone, say Donald won the war, okay? You won. Then he can leave so that's straight.
So what's the badge you're giving? It sounds like a scout honor badge.
Oh, it's the mighty conqueror, winner of war badge, right?
Yeah, but it's like you want to say goodbye to him altogether.
Well, yeah, I think the Republicans are going to get rid of the guy. Or the Republicans were going to have a problem with all lives. The problem, if the Republicans don't straighten up their act, they're going to have a generational problem. It's not going to be Democrats versus Republicans anymore. It's going to be moderate Democrats versus less than Democrats, and the Republicans will be just shut right out. Except in the redneck states.
All right. Well, so, and Dave?
Yes, I will bring up Gaza again. I always do. It's terrible there. I'm just saying what I've always said all the time. And Israel's getting away with murder, literal murder. And a guy like Lindsey Graham was a big supporter of Israel, but he had to be because in South Carolina you got a lot of fundamentalist Christians. He's right in the middle of the Bible Belt, so he could not do his ethically speaking. Now we talked about Lindsey Graham, and it was said of Lindsey Graham, he didn't see a war he didn't like anywhere in the world, and he certainly loved Israel bombing the crap out of innocents. So I don't know. I think he's got that to answer for when he sees judgment coming. However, I don't want to. I see that he had to do what he had to do if he wanted to stay in power. There's no way he could. If he wanted to stay in power, he could be ethical. Anyway, they also was hit yesterday as well. Who was hit yesterday? Iran. Anyway, so I'm going to bring up Gaza, southern. We find that an American congressman, I think it was a congressman. I'll get that story clear, but he went to the Palestinian areas where American Palestinians are, and the IDF and the Jewish settlers in that area came and attacked them, put gun in their faces. These are Americans, and you're supposed to be protecting Americans, even if they're Palestinians. But the U.S. will not do that. They're bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby. But we find that if you're going to be a Democrat coming up for the elections coming up, it's going to be pretty hard for you to carry any kind of APEC endorsement and get elected. So those things have changed. In any case, without further ado, I bid you do have a great Monday, everyone. Bye for now. Oh,